Today we're doing lesson 8.6, solve multiplication and division equations. Remember that you can use a calculator, but you must show your work. You can use properties of equality and inverse operations to solve multiplication and division equations. For this assignment, we're using the division property of equality, which means that if you divide both sides of an equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides will remain equal. For example, if we're looking at 2 times 6 equals 12. If we divide both sides of the equation by 2, then 2 gets canceled out and becomes a 1, and 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Therefore, 1 times 6 is 6, so both sides are still equal. Mai ran 14 laps around a track for a total of 4,200 meters. The equation 14D equals 4,200 can be used to find the distance d in meters she ran in each lap. So we're supposed to solve the equation and explain what the solution means. What operation is indicated by 14D? If you have a number right next to a variable or letter, then you are multiplying. To get d by itself, you must undo the multiplication by 14. Dividing by 14 is the inverse or opposite operation of multiplying by 14. So we start with the equation, then we divide each side by 14. This becomes 1 times d, and (4,200) divided by 14, we'll go with 300, which works out because I just looked ahead. And then 1 times d is d, so d equals 300. Checking your solution, so we're going to substitute 300 for d, and then we should get it so that 14 times 300 is 4,200, which equals the other side of the equal sign. So the solution means that Mai ran 300 meters in each lap. That was page 313. We're now going on to page 314. So example 1, solve the equation 2/3 n equals 1/4. Think, n is multiplied by 2/3, so divide both sides by 2/3 to undo the division. So writing the equation, then using the division property of equality. So we're dividing each side by the same fraction in this case. And if you remember, when you are dividing fractions, you keep the first number the same, you change the operation to its opposite, in this case multiplication, and then you flip the second one. So it would be 3/2. So there is no way to simplify that before we multiply. So 1 times 3 is 3, 4 times 2 is 8. Multiplication property of equality, if you multiply both sides of an equation by the same number, the two sides will remain equal. In this case, we have 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So if we multiply each side by 4, then these 4's cancel each other out, and we're left with 12. And then 4 times 3 is 12. So we have the same number on each side of the equal sign. A biologist divides a water sample equally among 8 test tubes. Each test tube contains 24.5 milliliters of water. Write and solve an equation to find the total volume of the water sample. So, the total volume divided by 8 equals the volume in each test tube. So we're writing 8 below the variable b, and that equals 24.5. Step 2, solve the equation. V is divided by 8, so multiply both sides by 8 to undo the division. We're rewriting the equation. We're using the multiplication property of equality, and so we're multiplying each side times 8. That cancels out the 8 on this side, and like I said, you can go ahead and use a calculator, but I'm just going to quickly figure this out. So the total volume of the water sample is 19.6 milliliters or 19.60. Either one will be correct. For your assignment, you have problems number 1 through 7. So for number 1, you solve the equation 2.5 m equals 10. You need to tell me what property, so it's either going to be multiplication or division. And then you will come up with a solution for the variable. Solve the equation and check the solutions for numbers 2 through 7. So again, you're just doing the opposite of what's done in the equation in order to undo it and figure out what the variable equals.